All right, so here's the solution video for the 7.5 section, the quotient rule. Remember, as odd as it does sound, that little saying, low d high minus high d low, all over low low, gets us our derivative. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. Now, as I said in class, if it looks like something's going to factor in the original problem and cancel, do that. It's going to make finding your derivative a lot easier. It's going to make the final answer a lot clearer. And when we start working with that final answer, it's going to make it easier to work with. Now, whether or not you take the time to actually label your u and v values and your du and dv values, I leave that up to you. I just go ahead and do it since we're just starting this section to make things a little bit more obvious for you. But again, you don't have to. So u, my numerator, x squared minus 3, its derivative 2x. V, my denominator, x squared minus 4, its derivative 2x. And so I've got v du minus u dv all over v squared. From there, it's just a matter of distribution. Be careful with the negative that needs to be distributed. That's really the only place that I see mistakes come in as people work through their quotient rule. And by the time we get to our final answer, there's no need to multiply out the denominator. In fact, unless it's a monomial, we will never multiply it out. All right, so number 2. Again, if it looks like something can factor and cancel, go ahead and do that. The numerator is not factorable, so that's really not an option. I've labeled u, I've labeled v. Again, you don't have to do that, but at the beginning it might help. And so, in terms of our saying, I've got low d high minus high d low. Remember, the d stands for derivative, so the derivative of high and the derivative of low. Have to do a little bit more work with the distribution on my low d high. So I distribute my 6x to x squared, my 6x to 9, my 4 to x squared, my 4 to negative 9. Distribute in my second piece. Again, notice I waited to distribute my negative. And so then if I did distribute, I would get negative, negative, positive. And so the 6x cubes are going to add up to 0. Negative 8x squared plus 4x squared will get me negative 4x squared. Negative 54x plus 6x gets me my negative 48x. And then there is no like term for negative 36. At first glance, denominator is not factorable, so I don't need to worry about that. Again, I took the time to label my u, du, my v, my dv values. You don't have to do that. Again, a little bit more work because I have to distribute my 2x and my 2 to all my pieces to get me my multiplied out first term. I saved distributing my negative. If I do distribute it, I get negative 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 16x plus x squared plus 2x minus 8. And then again, I start looking for like terms. 2x cubed and 2x cubed are going to add up to 0. Negative 2x squared plus 2x squared are going to add up to 0. So that's going to leave me with negative 4x squared and x squared, which are going to add up to negative 3x squared. Negative 6x. Oh, I've made a mistake, it looks like. Negative 6x minus 2x is negative 8x. Negative 8x plus 16. Negative 8x plus 16 should get me a plus 8x, so it looks like I made a mistake there. And then negative 6 minus 8 is going to get me negative 14. And again, we're never going to multiply out our denominator. Number 5 is the first time, and really the only reason I assigned this is to show you what I'm talking about. It's the first time that we're going to see that we can factor our numerator and denominator and then cancel something out. If you don't do this, it makes working with the derivative much more complicated. To be honest, we're not going to see many problems where the numerator and denominator have something that cancels. Conveniently then, when I label u, I notice that du is 0. That's going to eliminate an entire piece for us. So I've got low d high minus high d low all over low low. Fortunately, this all multiplies out to be 0. Whether or not you choose to distribute the negative 3 since it's already in its factored form is up to you. So you could either give this answer or you could have given it in its factored form. It's never wrong to factor things out, it's just sometimes unnecessary. And so then finally, Again, at first glance, nothing in the numerator and denominator is going to factor and cancel. So I start working with my derivative, my low d high minus high d low. Conveniently, that derivative of low is just 1, so I don't have a whole lot of math to work with. Multiply out my first term, distribute the negative into my second term, and then just start collecting like terms. 2x squared minus x squared is x squared. Negative 8x plus 2x minus 2x is negative 8x. And negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. And I've got my final answer. All right, hope this helped. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in class.